The champagne flute slips from my trembling fingers, crystal exploding across the Italian marble floor I personally selected and paid to install. The sound echoes through what was supposed to be my future home, now filled with the toxic laughter of my family's celebration. Mom and Dad have officially transferred the house to me, my sister Gabrielle announces, one manicured hand resting protectively on her barely there pregnancy bump. The papers were signed this morning. I am Victoria Ashworth, and in this moment, staring at the faces of people who raised me, loved me, and just systematically destroyed me, I realize that revenge isn't just a concept, it's about to become my specialty. Let me take you back 14 months, when I was still naive enough to believe that family meant something sacred. I was Dr. Victoria Ashworth then, just as I am now, but the woman standing in this room bears little resemblance to the trusting daughter who sacrificed everything for the people who birthed her. For 12 years, I worked as an orthopedic surgeon at Denver Metropolitan Hospital. 12 years of 18-hour days, missed holidays, failed relationships, and a social life that existed only in theory. Every spare dollar went into a dedicated savings account labeled Dream Home in my meticulously organized financial spreadsheet. My apartment walls were covered with printouts of house listings, neighborhood crime statistics, school district ratings, and mortgage calculators. I had narrowed my search to 3 specific areas in Aurora, saved $220,000 for a down payment, and pre-qualified for a loan that would have secured a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial with the wraparound porch I'd dreamed of since childhood. The realtor's business card sat on my nightstand. Viewings were scheduled for the weekend. Then came the phone call that changed everything. "Victoria, honey, we need you." Mom's voice cracked with what sounded like genuine desperation. "We're going to lose the house. Foreclosure proceedings start in 3 weeks." The words hit me like a scalpel to the chest. The family home where I'd learned to ride a bike, where Christmas mornings unfolded in perfect Norman Rockwell scenes, where Dad taught me to change a tire in the driveway, all of it about to be ripped away by heartless bank officials. "How much do you need?" I asked, already mentally calculating the liquidation of my dream. "The full amount," Dad's voice joined the call. "$230,000 to stop the foreclosure and cover penalties. I know it's everything you've saved, Vicky, but we'll pay you back. Every penny, I swear on my mother's grave." I canceled my house viewings that afternoon. The mortgage broker looked surprised when I redirected my pre-approved loan application. "You're sure you want to purchase your parents' property instead?" she asked, shuffling papers. "This changes your entire qualification profile." "Family first," I replied, the words tasting like ashes even then. 3 weeks later, I sat in the sterile law office of Henderson and Associates, signing document after document. The house, a modest 3-bedroom ranch worth approximately $420,000, was transferred into my name. I provided the $230,000 down payment from my liquidated savings account and signed for a $190,000 mortgage. "Congratulations, Dr. Ashworth," Attorney Henderson smiled, sliding the final deed across the mahogany table. "You're now the proud owner of 1247 Maple Grove Drive." My parents cried tears of gratitude. Gabrielle hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "You saved us," she whispered. "I'll never forget this." "Neither will I, sister. Neither will I." The first red flag should have been their reluctance to discuss repayment terms. Every time I broached the subject of a timeline for buying back the house, Dad would clear his throat and change the topic to my work schedule or Mom's book club drama. "Don't worry about that now," Mom would say, waving her hand dismissively. "We're all family here." The second red flag was Gabrielle's sudden increased interest in interior decorating. She began showing up with fabric swatches and paint samples, talking enthusiastically about updating this old place. When I mentioned that major renovations should probably wait until the ownership transfer was finalized, she laughed. Oh, Vicky, you worry too much. This is still our family home. But it was the third red flag that should have sent me running, the mysterious boyfriend who appeared out of nowhere. Trevor Morrison showed up at family dinners 6 months after the house purchase, a slick-talking real estate developer with perfectly styled hair and a smile that never quite reached his eyes. He and Gabrielle had been dating for 3 months, apparently, though this was the first any of us had heard of him. Trevor's been helping me understand property values in this neighborhood, Gabrielle mentioned casually during Sunday dinner. Did you know this house has appreciated almost 15% in the past year? Trevor nodded sagely. Great investment opportunity. Perfect timing for a purchase. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. By month 8, Gabrielle was pregnant. By month 10, she and Trevor were engaged. By month 12, they were planning their wedding and talking about settling down and providing stability for the baby. Always at family dinners. Always in my house. Always with that calculating gleam in Trevor's eyes as he surveyed what he clearly considered his future domain. Which brings us to tonight. The champagne reception to celebrate Gabrielle's pregnancy, held in what I'm now learning is no longer my property. The living room buzzes with relatives I barely recognize, neighbors who've known my family for decades, and medical colleagues I invited under the mistaken impression I was hosting a party in my own home. The irony is so bitter I can taste it on my tongue. Victoria looks shocked. I hear Aunt Patricia whisper to Uncle Robert near the kitchen doorway. I wonder if she knew about the transfer. Knew? I excuse myself to the bathroom and immediately dial my cousin Elena, the only family member who's ever been completely honest with me. She answers on the second ring. Elena, what do you know about Mom and Dad transferring the house to Gabrielle? Silence stretches between us like a taut wire. Victoria, she finally says, her voice carefully neutral, how much do you know about the original foreclosure? What do you mean? They were 3 weeks from losing everything. Honey, I work for the county assessor's office. I can access all property records going back 20 years. My blood turns to ice water. There was never any foreclosure proceeding filed against your parents' property. Not 20 months ago, not ever. They've owned that house free and clear since 2018 when they refinanced and paid off the original mortgage. The bathroom floor seems to tilt beneath my feet. I grab the marble countertop to steady myself, staring at my reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at me has the same dark hair, same green eyes, same determined jawline, but something fundamental has changed in her expression. She looks dangerous. Elena, I whisper, I need you to pull every property record associated with my parents' names. Every transaction, every filing, every document. Can you do that? Already on it, she says grimly. Meet me tomorrow morning. Bring coffee and prepare yourself for a very unpleasant conversation. The next morning's revelation is worse than I could have imagined. Elena spreads the documents across her dining room table like a coroner laying out evidence at an autopsy. Your parents have been planning this for almost 2 years, she begins, pointing to a series of property assessments. They knew the house was going to appreciate significantly because of the new light rail station being built 6 blocks away. Information that wasn't public when you made the purchase. Document after document reveals the scope of their deception. Property value projections showing a 30% increase over 5 years. Email printouts between Mom and a real estate speculator discussing optimal timing for family transfers. A handwritten note in Dad's unmistakable scrawl outlining the Victoria contingency plan. But the smoking gun is a recorded phone conversation Elena managed to obtain through her court reporter friend. Mom's voice, crystal clear, discussing strategy with Gabrielle. She'll never suspect anything if we play up the desperation angle. Victoria's always been too trusting for her own good. Once the property transfer is complete and she's on the mortgage hook, we'll have everything we need. The room spins around me. 12 years of sacrifice. $230,000 of my life savings. My dream home abandoned for their manufactured crisis. They played me like a violin. But they made one critical miscalculation. They forgot I'm a surgeon. And surgeons don't just heal. When necessary, we cut deep and precise to remove diseased tissue. I take a week of personal leave from the hospital, telling Dr. Harrison I'm dealing with a family emergency. It's not technically a lie. My first stop is Attorney Henderson's office. The receptionist remembers me immediately. Apparently, emotional family property transfers stick in people's minds. I need to review all documents associated with my property purchase, I tell Henderson, settling into his expensive leather chair. Specifically, I need to understand the legal requirements for property ownership transfer. Henderson's bushy eyebrows rise as he reviews my file. Dr. Ashworth, is there a problem with the deed? According to my records, you're listed as the sole owner of 1247 Maple Grove Drive. That's what I thought too, I reply, sliding a photograph across his desk. Until I saw this. The image shows a quitclaim deed, dated 3 days ago, transferring ownership from Victoria Ashworth to Gabrielle Ashworth Morrison. The signature at the bottom looks like mine if you squint and ignore the obvious differences in letter formation. Henderson's face darkens as he examines the document. Dr. Ashworth, this appears to be a forged signature. The notary seal is from Jennifer Walsh. She's been under investigation for fraudulent document authentication. If what you're showing me is accurate, this constitutes multiple felonies. What kind of felonies, exactly? Document forgery, fraud, grand theft, possibly RICO violations if we can prove conspiracy. Henderson leans back in his chair, studying me carefully. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I meet his gaze steadily. I want justice. Justice can take many forms, Dr. Ashworth. Legal proceedings, criminal charges, civil restitution, or all three. But I should warn you, pursuing criminal charges against your family will be emotionally devastating. Are you prepared for that level of warfare? Am I prepared for warfare? I've spent the last 14 months watching my family systematically steal my life's work while pretending to love me. I've been at war, I just didn't know it yet. Henderson, I say, standing and extending my hand, consider me your newest client. And I want everything thrown at them that the law allows. Henderson introduces me to investigator Patricia Mills, a former police detective who specializes in white-collar family crime. Patricia looks like someone's favorite aunt until she starts talking about surveillance techniques and evidence preservation. Family fraud cases are tricky, Patricia explains over coffee in her cluttered office. The emotional manipulation makes victims hesitant to pursue prosecution. But in your case, we have unusual advantages. She spreads photographs across the table, images I recognize from social media posts my family shared over the past year. Gabrielle and Trevor at expensive restaurants. Mom's new jewelry collection. Dad's recently purchased luxury fishing boat. They've been living well beyond their declared income, Patricia notes. The lifestyle doesn't match their financial claims of desperation. We can trace every expenditure, every purchase, every vacation they've taken since receiving your money. The next revelation stops my heart entirely. Your sister isn't just pregnant, Patricia continues, sliding another document forward. She's been married to Trevor for 8 months. The engagement story was fiction. They had a quiet ceremony in Las Vegas using your house as collateral for a business loan. I stare at the marriage certificate, dated 2 months after I purchased the property. Trevor Morrison and Gabrielle Ashworth Morrison, listed as homeowners at 1247 Maple Grove Drive. They used my house, the house I paid for, to secure funding for Trevor's real estate development company. How much? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. $450,000, Patricia replies. They mortgaged your property to the maximum allowable amount. The mathematics of their betrayal is staggering. Not only did they steal my down payment and stick me with the original mortgage, they secretly took out an additional loan against the property, pocketing nearly $500,000 in the process. They didn't just steal my house. They turned it into their personal ATM machine. Rather than immediately involving law enforcement, Henderson suggests what he calls the disclosure strategy. Give them one opportunity to confess and make restitution before we destroy them legally. Sometimes the threat of criminal prosecution motivates voluntary compliance, he explains. It's cleaner, faster, and less emotionally traumatic for everyone involved. But I'm not interested in clean anymore. I'm interested in consequences. Still, I agree to the meeting. Sunday dinner at my house, or what I'm still calling my house for legal purposes. Mom insists on cooking, Gabrielle brings dessert, and Dad promises to fix the squeaky front door that's been bothering him for months. The domesticity is nauseating. They arrive promptly at 6, Trevor in tow wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Gabrielle has that pregnant glow everyone talks about, radiating happiness and contentment as she arranges flowers in a vase I gave Mom for her birthday 2 years ago. Doesn't the house look wonderful? Mom gushes, gesturing at the recent renovations I'm now realizing I inadvertently funded. Trevor's been helping us update everything. Trevor nods modestly. Just small improvements. Good investment in the property value. The audacity is breathtaking. Dinner conversation revolves around baby names, nursery themes, and career plans. Trevor mentions expanding his business, possibly opening a second office in Boulder. Gabrielle talks about cutting back her hours at the marketing firm to focus on motherhood. It's so wonderful to have stability, she sighs, rubbing her belly contentedly. Knowing we have a secure home for the baby makes all the difference. I set down my fork and look around the table at these people I've shared genetics with for 34 years. Speaking of home security, I say conversationally, I had an interesting conversation with my attorney this week. The temperature in the room drops by 20 degrees. Oh. Dad says, suddenly very interested in his mashed potatoes. He was reviewing my homeowner's insurance policy and noticed some irregularities with the property title. Apparently, there's been some kind of ownership transfer that I wasn't aware of. Gabrielle and Trevor exchange glances. Mom's hand trembles slightly as she reaches for her wine glass. Victoria, Mom begins carefully, we should probably discuss. The forged quitclaim deed? I interrupt, pulling the document from my purse and placing it in the center of the table like a centerpiece. This quitclaim deed with my forged signature transferring ownership to Gabrielle? The silence that follows is so complete I can hear the kitchen clock ticking from the next room. Trevor recovers first, leaning forward with that practiced smile. Now, Victoria, I think there might be some misunderstanding here. The misunderstanding, I continue pleasantly, is thinking I wouldn't discover the truth. Elena pulled the property records. All of them. Including the ones showing there was never any foreclosure proceeding filed against this property. Dad's face goes pale. Gabrielle's hand moves protectively to her stomach as if I might physically attack her unborn child. The second mortgage you took out using my house as collateral, I add, placing another document on the table. $450,000 that went directly into Trevor's business account. Victoria, please, Mom starts. The marriage certificate from 8 months ago that lists this property as your primary residence, I continue, adding a third document to the growing pile. And the financial records showing luxury purchases totaling over $60,000 since I gave you my life savings. Trevor stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the hardwood. I think we should all take a step back and sit down, Trevor, I say quietly, and something in my voice makes him comply immediately. We're not finished here. I place the final document on the table, a criminal complaint, already signed and notarized, ready for filing. Fraud, grand theft, forgery, conspiracy, money laundering, and racketeering, I recite. Combined sentence exposure of 47 years in federal prison. Trevor, as the primary beneficiary of the conspiracy, you're looking at the longest sentence. Gabrielle, pregnancy won't protect you from felony charges. And Mom, Dad, conspiracy charges apply equally to all participants. The room is so quiet I can hear my own heartbeat. But here's what I'm offering, I continue, my voice still conversational and calm. Full ownership transfer back to me. Complete repayment of all money stolen, including the second mortgage. All legal fees associated with this mess. And written confessions detailing exactly how this conspiracy was planned and executed. Victoria, Dad whispers, we're family. No, I reply, standing and looking down at each of them in turn. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't lie to family. Family doesn't spend months planning elaborate deceptions to destroy someone they claim to love. I walk to the front door and open it wide. You have 48 hours to decide. Full restitution and confessions, or criminal prosecution. Your choice. They file out silently, Trevor supporting Gabrielle as if I've physically assaulted her rather than simply exposed their crimes. From my front porch, I watch them drive away in the luxury SUV they purchased with my money. 2 days later, Henderson calls with their response. They're refusing all terms, he reports. Their attorney claims you're engaging in harassment and extortion. They're threatening to file a countersuit for emotional distress. Emotional distress? I laugh, but the sound carries no humor. Henderson, file every criminal complaint we discussed. Contact the FBI about the interstate commerce violations. And prepare the civil lawsuit for treble damages. Dr. Ashworth, Henderson says carefully, once we begin criminal proceedings, there's no going back. Your family relationships will be permanently destroyed. I think about that for exactly 3 seconds. Henderson, they destroyed our family relationships the day they decided to steal from me. I'm just making it official. The criminal charges are filed on Tuesday morning. By noon, local news stations are running stories about prominent local family charged with elaborate real estate fraud. The hospital administrators receive calls from reporters asking about the respected surgeon whose family stole her house. Dr. Harrison summons me to his office Wednesday afternoon, concern etched across his weathered features. Victoria, I need to ask about these news reports. Are you personally involved in criminal proceedings against family members? Yes, I reply simply. They committed multiple felonies against me. I'm cooperating with law enforcement. Do you need time off? Counseling services? Legal support from the hospital? The offer catches me off guard. I expected professional distance, concern about the hospital's reputation, maybe suggestions that I handle family matters privately. Sir? Victoria, you're one of our most valued surgeons. You've dedicated 12 years of your life to this institution, often at personal cost. If your family has taken advantage of that dedication, we want to support you however we can. By Friday, the story has taken on a life of its own. Social media buzzes with outrage over the surgeon who saved lives while her family robbed her blind. Local legal experts give interviews about the complexity of family fraud cases. A domestic violence counselor appears on the evening news discussing financial abuse patterns. My parents hire expensive criminal defense attorneys. Gabrielle and Trevor retain separate counsel. The legal fees alone will probably bankrupt them, which seems like poetic justice. The preliminary hearing is scheduled for the following month. Saturday morning brings an unexpected visitor, Trevor's business partner, Nathan Cross, looking haggard and furious. "Dr. Ashworth," he says when I answer the door, "I need to tell you what Trevor did to our company." Over coffee in my kitchen, Nathan explains how Trevor embezzled funds from their real estate development firm using the fraudulent mortgage on my house as collateral for unauthorized loans. "I've been trying to figure out where $400,000 disappeared to," Nathan says, rubbing his temples. Trevor claimed it was reinvestment in new properties, but the money just vanished. "Now I know where it went." Nathan's testimony becomes crucial evidence of Trevor's broader criminal pattern. He agrees to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for immunity from any conspiracy charges. "I want him destroyed," Nathan says bluntly. "He didn't just steal from you, he destroyed 5 years of my work building our company." Monday brings another unexpected ally, Jennifer Walsh, the notary who stamped the forged quitclaim deed. She calls Henderson's office requesting a meeting. "I want to cooperate," Jennifer explains, wringing her hands nervously. "Trevor threatened my daughter if I didn't stamp those documents. Said he knew where she worked, where she went to school." I was terrified. Her testimony reveals the extent of Trevor's intimidation tactics and provides crucial evidence of coercion and conspiracy. By week's end, the prosecutor's office has enough evidence to file additional charges of extortion, witness intimidation, and racketeering. Trevor's potential sentence has increased to 65 years. The story captures national attention when a prominent legal blogger writes about the systematic financial abuse disguised as family love. Television producers call requesting interviews. Publishers inquire about book rights. I decline all media requests, but the coverage serves my purposes perfectly. My family's crimes are now public record, destroying any chance they had of portraying me as the villain in this scenario. Mom appears on local television, crying about her vindictive daughter who's tearing the family apart over money. The performance backfires spectacularly when social media users point out that she's wearing jewelry worth more than most people's annual salaries while claiming financial desperation. Gabrielle attempts damage control through her social media accounts, posting pregnancy photos with captions about family unity and forgiveness. The comments sections quickly fill with supporters pointing out that fraud is still fraud, regardless of pregnancy status. Dad maintains complete silence, which Henderson interprets as preparation for a plea bargain. Trevor, meanwhile, makes the catastrophic decision to give an interview claiming I'm mentally unstable and obsessed with destroying his family. The interview airs the same day prosecutors release financial records showing he spent my stolen money on luxury vacations and expensive cars. The court of public opinion has rendered its verdict, and it's not in their favor. 6 weeks after filing charges, Henderson receives a call from Dad's attorney requesting plea negotiations. "Your father wants to cooperate," Henderson reports. Full confession, complete financial disclosure, testimony against the other defendants. He's offering to make full restitution in exchange for reduced charges. The betrayal continues, even within their own ranks. Dad is willing to sacrifice Mom, Gabrielle, and Trevor to save himself. What's he offering? I ask. Everything. The original planning meetings, who proposed the false foreclosure story, how they researched your financial situation, when they decided to bring Trevor into the conspiracy. He's also willing to provide evidence of other fraudulent activities you might not be aware of. Other fraudulent activities? Dad's confession, delivered over 3 grueling days of depositions, reveals the full scope of their criminal enterprise. Using my credit information, they opened accounts in my name to purchase investment properties. They filed false tax returns claiming me as a dependent to reduce their tax liability. They even attempted to access my retirement accounts using forged power of attorney documents. The total amount stolen approaches $700,000. Why? I ask Henderson after reviewing Dad's confession. They had comfortable lives, no financial stress, decent retirement savings. Why risk everything for money they didn't need? Henderson shrugs sadly. Greed is rarely logical, Dr. Ashworth. Some people see opportunities and convince themselves they deserve whatever they can take. Mom's attorney requests similar negotiations the following week. Her confession adds emotional manipulation to the criminal charges, detailing how they researched psychological pressure points to ensure my compliance. We knew Victoria would sacrifice anything for family, Mom states in her deposition. She's always been that way, even as a child. We planned the approach specifically to target her emotional vulnerabilities. Reading her words, I feel something finally break clean inside me. Whatever capacity I had for loving these people has been surgically removed, excised like cancerous tissue. Gabrielle holds out the longest, convinced that pregnancy will generate sympathy and reduced charges. Her attorney's confidence evaporates when prosecutors reveal that she used stolen money to pay for expensive fertility treatments, deliberately timing her pregnancy to coincide with the property theft. Trevor, facing the longest sentence, finally agrees to cooperate when his business partner Nathan provides evidence of additional embezzlement charges that could add another 20 years to his sentence. The formal sentencing hearing feels almost anticlimactic after months of investigation and negotiation. Judge Martinez reviews each defendant's crimes with obvious disgust. The violation of family trust demonstrated in this case represents a particularly cynical form of abuse, she states from the bench. The defendants systematically exploited the plaintiff's love and generosity, turning her family loyalty into a weapon against her. Dad receives 5 years in federal prison plus full restitution. Mom gets 3 years plus community service. Gabrielle, despite her pregnancy, receives 2 years in minimum security facility plus 5 years probation. Trevor receives the maximum sentence, 12 years in federal prison plus lifetime ban from any real estate-related activities. The civil lawsuit settles for $2.1 million, including punitive damages and legal fees. Standing outside the courthouse after sentencing, Henderson shakes my hand firmly. Dr. Ashworth, in 30 years of practicing law, I've never seen a more complete legal victory. You've recovered everything they stole plus substantial additional compensation. But victory tastes different than I expected. Not sweet, exactly. More like medicine, necessary but bitter. 6 months post-sentencing, I'm signing papers on a new home, a stunning contemporary house on 5 acres outside Denver, purchased with the civil lawsuit settlement. The property includes a horse stable, guest house, and enough distance from neighbors to ensure complete privacy. The realtor, a kind woman named Margaret, handles the transaction with remarkable sensitivity. New beginnings can be complicated, she observes as we complete the final walkthrough. But sometimes starting fresh is the only way to heal. My housewarming party bears no resemblance to that nightmare celebration in my stolen house. Elena brings her husband and children. Nathan Cross and his wife attend, along with colleagues from the hospital and a few close friends I've maintained throughout the ordeal. Dr. Harrison presents me with a Crystal Award recognizing my courage under extraordinary circumstances. The inscription reads, "For showing us that integrity requires defending what's right, even when it's difficult." To Victoria, Elena raises her glass, who proved that family is defined by loyalty, not biology. The toast resonates around my new living room, echoing off walls that belong to me, paid for with money I earned through my own work and determination. A year after sentencing, I received letters from prison. 3 separate envelopes, all forwarded through Henderson's office. Dad's letter is brief: "I'm sorry. I understand why you can't forgive me, but I needed you to know that I'm sorry." Mom's letter is longer, filled with justifications and explanations about family financial pressures I was too successful to understand. She concludes by hoping I'll find it in my heart to help us rebuild when we're released. I throw that one away without finishing it. Gabrielle's letter includes photos of her daughter, my niece, born 3 months into her sentence. The baby is beautiful, innocent of her parents' crimes. "I want you to know your niece," Gabrielle writes. "Despite everything that happened between us, you're still her aunt. When I'm released, I hope we can find a way forward." I study the photograph for a long time. The baby has Dad's eyes and Gabrielle's stubborn chin. She's family, technically, though that word has lost most of its meaning for me. I file the letter and photo away without responding. Someday, when she's older, this child might seek answers about why her family fell apart. When that time comes, I'll be ready to explain the difference between blood relations and chosen family. But not today. 2 years after the sentencing, my life has settled into rhythms that belong entirely to me. I've been promoted to Chief of Orthopedic Surgery, leading a department I helped build through years of dedication. My colleagues have become my chosen family, people who earned my trust through consistency and integrity. The horses I've acquired, 2 rescue mares named Justice and Liberty, provide companionship without manipulation. They don't want anything from me except care, attention, and the occasional apple. It's refreshing. Elena visits regularly with her family, and her children call me Aunt Victoria with genuine affection. Dr. Harrison and his wife include me in holiday celebrations. Nathan Cross and I have become unlikely friends, bonded by our shared experience of betrayal and recovery. I've started dating again, carefully and slowly. Dr. Amanda Pierce from cardiology shares my appreciation for quiet evenings and honest conversation. We're taking things one day at a time, building something based on mutual respect rather than need or convenience. On quiet Sunday mornings, I sit on my back porch with coffee and medical journals, watching the horses graze in pastures I own outright. The mountains rise in the distance, painted gold by sunrise, and I feel something I haven't experienced in years: complete peace. Sometimes I think about forgiveness, whether I should feel guilty for destroying my family's lives as thoroughly as they destroyed mine. Then I remember Mom's deposition testimony about targeting my emotional vulnerabilities, and the guilt evaporates. They made their choices. I simply ensured they faced consequences. If someone asked me today whether I regret pursuing criminal charges against my family, whether I wish I'd handled things differently, I would tell them this: revenge isn't about hurting people who hurt you. Revenge is about restoring balance to the universe. My family broke something fundamental when they chose greed over love, manipulation over honesty, theft over integrity. They created a debt that had to be paid, one way or another. I could have absorbed the loss, accepted the betrayal, moved on with my life while they enjoyed the fruits of their crimes. Many people would have called that the mature response, the family-oriented choice. But maturity isn't about enabling bad behavior. Family isn't about accepting abuse. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is ensure they face the consequences of their actions. My name is Dr. Victoria Ashworth. I save lives for a living, but the most important life I ever saved was my own, by refusing to be a victim and fighting for justice instead. And in the end, that made all the difference. The house they stole is gone now, sold to pay restitution and legal fees. But the home I built from the ashes of their betrayal is mine completely, bought with clean money, owned without compromise, filled with people who earn their place in my life every single day. Some would call it revenge. I call it justice. And justice, it turns out, is the foundation upon which real peace is built.